Okay, so the Reaper's still alive. Haven't lost anything yet. Second barracks should be going down soonish. Ooh, should be building an extra depot by now.
CC's upgraded.
Doesn't start that like right now. It's bad. Okay. Yeah, he's doing his build really tight. That's fine.
This better be good. SCV ready.
Add-ons finished.
Okay. So he's actually grouping up in the middle of the map. That's cute. That's cute.
SCV ready.
So he's going to do a double Widowmine drop. He's not going to do the Widowmine run by. Okay. This can be effective.
Coming through.
That's going to be powerful. He's going to go Raven behind that into a reactor on the factory. Okay, yeah, this is going to build a tech lab and he's going to swap a barracks onto that tech lab and he's going to go stim concussive. Starport's going to swap onto the reactor. Factory's going to swap off and build another add-on. Pretty sure I understand where this build is going. Drop did already boost. Is it going to boost in as well? I wouldn't mind it just boosting straight in. Lately, I have never been coming in from this edge. I always come in from the bottom though, because people just seem to leave their stalkers there.
Add-on complete.
Oh, that's bad.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Raven online. SCV ready. SCV ready.
He's putting a second Raven. I hate it.
Your add-ons done.
Second Raven. I do not like this.
SCV ready.
I don't like that at all. No. Nope, nope, nope. That should be on Stim and Stim and Shields is already late. That Raven spending 200 gas at that moment is not a good thing. I do not like this. We want a barracks on that tech lab earlier.
SCV ready.
Right after the first Raven finishes. And go Stim and Shields at the same time. You just don't need two Ravens. It's like, how many Seeker missiles do you want to spam? I don't think it's necessary. He's gonna go harass with them. I mean, that's cute, but like, it's so late in the game, and like, you're so vulnerable. Like, he could just die. He doesn't have a siege tank for safety. He's building one now? But like, we're already entering the charge phase of the game. Tanks aren't useful at this point. It's too late to keep you alive against a big blink pressure or warp prism immortal drop or anything. Like, it's not gonna help against any of that. So I really dislike that. He's gone up to 5 barracks. Armory is going down. Hate the armory positioning, but it'll do. Wall's going down. Third's gonna land. He's doing pretty good with his macro, but he didn't even clear up observers with his Ravens, and that triggers me. He should have at least pushed out here. Yeah.
Oh, it's on.
I want to say just use one Raven for clearing observers and shredded missiles. Harassing with turrets. It's way too late in the game. So he seems to have sent them in, but he hasn't really thought about it. Yeah, like, or he's not paying attention or whatever. Like, now he's doing it, but it's like, eh.
Kaboom, baby.
I don't really like throwing down 2 turrets at a time, but I guess it makes sense at this point. Yeah, throwing one up there is good. Oh my god, he's not reacting. That's hilarious.
Your orders engage the enemy.
He just killed like 20 workers. That's hilarious. That should never happen.
Your forces are under attack. Research complete.
Yeah, I mean, the observer placement's really bad. There and there, I think, are the most unnecessary spots for observers. You don't know if drops are coming around the edges or not, like, which I think is so much more important, because you've got an observer that's going to see if anything is moving through the middle. So, you know, it's very rare a drop is going to go around that and then cut in through these middle areas. So, very critical of Jolt's observer placement. And here he's going mass bio tank, which is not a composition I've ever liked. I always feel like continuing to build tanks the later the game goes is just not that good.
Ready for dust off.
So even though he's got like a decent push timing here, I mean, I think if
Research finished.
it's just the tanks don't add anything to it, yeah. It's basically just like I'm doing a big 3-base Spire push with 1-1. And he's got good macro behind it, but I don't feel like it's a direct enough build. And not, yeah, like he should be using Shredder Missile. He shouldn't be using Auto Turret. And he hasn't actually cleared up the observers on the map. And now he's going Drilling Claws? This is so confusing. Normally, you just stop building Widow Mines the later the game goes. You just focus on on Liberators, because as good as Zealots are, the higher the supply gets, Zealots aren't as good. So Widow Mines are like a mid-game counter to Zealots, but we're going to like late game now, right? There should be a 4th base going down soon. He's got like double Starport going and stuff. He's got a Ghost Academy. So why are we even building Widow Mines? I don't think it makes any sense.
Field depleted.
Like he could skip Widow Mines. He could skip factory production entirely, actually, if he wanted to with this build. He didn't stem the bio on the norm.
Add-ons finished.
Didn't scan ahead of his push. He was completely spotted by an observer the entire time as well. That observer's been watching everything. So this was not a well-planned push. Don't like it.
Mineral field depleted. Research complete.
Gangway coming through.
Gonna write up some notes. Some notes.
Get heavy.
Alright, alright, alright. G. Well played.
Oh man, that was rough in the beginning. Fuck that medevac up. Bad rally.
That definitely did make a pretty big difference. Let's hop in that replay and let's talk about a few things. Hopefully we've got someone who's offered to help us. We'll try and take someone who's slightly higher MMR. Jolts was a great first game, but if we have someone else, we will sub someone else in. So, a few questions. Obviously you weren't watching the drop, that's just a little mistake. You should always be watching it as it enters the base, just in case there happen to be 4 Stalkers right there.
Yeah.
A little bit unfortunate, you came in right on the angle where his 4 Stalkers were sitting. You know, this is... well, I mean, you should always be watching it, but it was the worst case scenario as well for not watching it. So, there's a little bit of bad luck mixed with your own mistake. Bigger question regarding your build order. Double Raven.
Normally I only do one. That was actually a mistake.
Whew, okay, I've been explaining to the stream, kind of writing notes and going on a whole essay about why I hate it. Good. Single Raven's better. Do you normally auto turret harass with the single Raven?
That was really like because I lost the drop.
Your add-ons.
I wanted to keep him busy from pushing out.
Okay.
Because I feel like after that, you know, I had no army, so if he had pushed me and my man, I would have been pretty vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they kind of got over there so late. If he wanted to kill you, he could have killed you. But
Yeah.
you did massive damage. You did almost 20 workers with it. He reacted very slow. He was very surprised by it. His observers needed some work. So Jolts, I know you're watching. I don't like your observer positioning. I'll give you some more advice on that later. But if you watch the VOD, you can already hear me criticizing that. So what do you normally do with the Raven? You just kind of clear out observers with it around your base, I guess, and then use it for shredder missiles in the big fights, or?
Yeah, especially early on if they're going any like 2-base aggression. I found it really helpful to kind of hold stuff off. And I like it also for like DTs and stuff. It's just I feel like it's a great unit because I really want to go into a longer game with Protoss and, you know, like hit a good 10-minute timing with it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play a macro style, like Raven is one of the most useful units if you're going around killing observers with it. I really didn't like it because you went double Raven and then you didn't even clear the observer outside your base before you flew them off. So there's like one observer just saw everything, and I was like, no. We actually see at this point the little Raven and observer having a bit of a little staring battle.
Dance.
Yeah. So normally, if you didn't build the second Raven, what do you swap this barracks onto that tech lab that the
Yeah,
the
that's why I
starport
built
goes
it
on the
right
reactor?
there.
Does the starport go straight into the
No,
reactor?
normally I
normally?
make a reactor with the starport and put the second racks I make on the reactor right away.
Good shit. I like it. Okay. Good. So, yeah, because you don't really need medevac production just yet. Because basically I was looking at this and I was like, okay, cool. Like, you want double upgrades, but like... So one thing that's missing here is you go 4th and 5th barracks before getting the gases on your natural as well. And this is compounded by the fact that you obviously went double Raven. So you just can't afford stem and shields for literally ever. But you should always, I think, be squeezing those gases in on that natural before going for the 4th and 5th barracks, because
Yeah, I totally felt that 400 to 100 minerals. I was like, oh shit.
oh yeah, I was like, here's 1-1, and we have a second Raven, which kind of does the same thing as the first one. So I think that definitely is something, you know. Are you normally concrete on making sure you get the second gas right after the engineering bays, like the natural gases? Sorry,
I can't say I consistently do it. So
I'm making a
definitely
mental note right now.
try to work on
lock
that. Yep.
into your brain. So we go 3 racks, 3rd CC, E bays, 3rd and 4th gas,
Add-ons
and
done.
then we're gonna get our 4th and 5th barracks.
That mineral field.
Making sure we can afford all that. Otherwise, you're gonna be like, cool, I got a starport with a reactor, and I can't even afford double medevac production. Well, you can't afford marauders or this or that, right? Next thing, siege tanks. So are you normally adding in siege tanks at this stage?
Normally I try to make 2 and lift it, but
Because I feel like they're hitting very late. You did make 3 this game. They're not really safety siege tanks. Are you normally building them earlier than this? Or is it because you queued up the second Raven, you didn't have the gas for it, I guess? Because these aren't going to... Like, if your opponent does blink counter pressure, with this factory timing, you're just never going to have it, right?
yeah. True.
So these are, like, not safety tanks. So with this opening, you're very reliant on a bunker. So you absolutely should have been building a bunker the moment your medevac got shut down. Because you don't know if it was blink or not. He could have just come across the map and killed you, right? So
That
you're
actually
very reliant
explains
on
a
that.
lot. I've lost to that a number of times.
Yeah, because like normally
Makes sense.
I build a safety tank every game. That's like what it is. I don't give a shit about the tank being part of a push. I just hate tanks versus Protoss. It's such a clunky unit, you know. Like, yeah, if he goes Stalker Colossi, it's actually like really nice for certain timings. It's also really, really friggin' immobile and hard to actually get in a good position, right? Unless you're doing a 2-base all-in. I just hate siege tanks. In this game, we basically started siege tank production as Charge was more than halfway done. So it was like, these tanks are just going to do nothing for us, because obviously Charge on Immortal Archon is just amazing. He lost 20 probes to your Ravens and ended up in a terrible spot, thankfully. But otherwise, he would have ground pounded the shit out of your army before your tanks really did anything. So I think definitely saying to ourselves, you know what? Maybe we don't care about siege tanks. I also noticed you went drilling claws at the same stage, but you didn't actually have your factory on a reactor, and you were going into Liberator production. So I just want to get inside your head there. Do you like to just open up the Widow Mine tech for dealing with charge lots? Do you normally focus on the libs? Do you keep building tanks? What's the whole kind of tech unit thought process here?
Yeah, so really what I should have done was get that a lot sooner, and then lift this off. But well, yeah, I guess I'm making it. How many? I have 1 tank coming in production, so I make ideally 2, and then I should have, after this armory is done, start that upgrade, and start making Widow Mines in single production after the 3rd tank until that upgrade is done. Just because, like, I didn't really know what he was doing. All I seen initially for a while was just the Stalker. So I didn't know if he was if it was like really Stalker heavy or not. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you're not
definitely
really
more
sure.
mines against you know, it's like the tanks and kind of defend Blink Stalker, but if they have a lot of charge lots, yeah, need the mines. But
So
I can't say I distinctively do it perfectly.
That's cool. I mean, it's good, right? Because we're kind of thinking it out now as we go, which is such an important thing to constantly kind of review and think about what our kind of goal is with everything and how we adjust. With your build, I feel like Widow Mines are always going to be kind of hitting the field a little bit late anyway.
You're under attack.
with the way
Siege
you're
up.
doing it. So I'm basically thinking we either just scratch the siege tanks entirely and go straight into just reactor widow mines, and like I don't think drilling claws is that important in battles. I think it's more for drops, and like obviously it helps if you kind of get jumped on, you can quickly burrow and stuff, but I don't think it's necessary. And so part of the reason with this, right, is if we look in this game, so you start going ghosts exceptionally early as well, right? You're going to go ghost tech, and you go double reactor starport, and you start going drilling claws, and I'm like, whoa, which one are we focusing on here, right? You'll notice when I play, it's like very simplified TvP. I like to keep things simple so I don't have too many different fancy things I'm relying on, right? Because I feel like you can spend so much APM and attention just on bio. You could play pure Marine Marauder medevac, no supporting units whatsoever, and you could still win a ton of your TVPs, right? Because you're... Oh, shit. Just clicked that. Because you're focusing on drops, right? You're focusing on your positioning, the angling, multi-prong, and there's so much APM and stuff that can go into that, right? So I personally like to play bio-lib. Once we get to this later stage, I think of Widow Mines as a mid-game unit, which is more than anything necessary for keeping me alive. And since you're playing a similar style to me, where it's like early pressure a little bit, and then just macro, like 3 base. So if they're on like a 3 gas style, you know where they don't take the gases on their third, they only take 1 on their natural. They maybe even take a fast fourth, and they're just like massing charge lots with double upgrades and some blink stalkers. Those styles, you want to get a lot of Widow Mines, right? You need it, or they're going to push in, right? They run the Warp Prism in the main, warp in 10 charge lots, and the army just jumps on your third at the same time, and you're like, fuck. And if you have enough Widow Mines and you bio your, you micro your bio properly, you can defend that. But the thing is, as you get later on, I feel like the army, as it gets closer to max, charge lots just aren't as good a unit, right? Because Liberators and just sheer number of bio means that like you're just kind of stutter stepping backwards and gunning down the zealots as soon as they're connecting, unless they get like some 6 around, right? So at this stage of the game, I'm kind of like, is it even worth investing in Widow Mines if it's this late on? And I don't think so. So this is kind of the whole thought process behind the units. You open Ghosts and Liberators at the same time, and I think we're doing a little bit too much in terms of that tech. We can talk about this battle in a second, because there's a few things to say about that, but I think we should have a clearer goal where it's like, we want to make plays with 1 piece of tech off that 3rd base gas. That's either double reacted libs, or it's Ghosts. What do you stick to more? What do you think's like better for you?
So I I feel like that was definitely situational. Like, I knew I got so much damage done that I wanted to kind of just cover my bases before, like after my push, because I was gonna basically try to micro that push for a while. Yeah. And I knew if my macro slipped a little bit, I could kind of just continue to make units. So I definitely don't. Normally I go for Liberators first, and then into Ghosts, but it depends on the timing of when I see that the High Templar and when they're getting that, because I don't really know when there's what's early and what's not. But
yeah, I think that's totally natural. So I think we should gain confidence. We should simplify the game. We should just say, let's go libs every game. That's what I do. I don't care if he's got High Templar. I literally never build Ghosts. You don't need to do that. You can still have Ghosts, but what we want to think of is we want to differentiate between stages. We want to think, bam, he's got a 4th. We're in like the real late game. I got 5 bases. I got planetaries. I got 8 barracks. I got 2 starports. I got, the whole works. We got 3-3. He's got 3-3. That's where it's like Ghosts are essential to take efficient fights and do good shit. You've probably got range on your libs. This middle stage, we don't actually need EMP for the first few High Templar. And this is going to become more clear when we talk about this next fight. So what we're going to have is your new game plan is 3rd base gas, 2nd starport builds on your factory's reactor. So this is what I always do. I think it's really good for what you're doing. And wait a second, factory's reactor? You have factories on a reactor? We're getting rid of drilling claws. So we're ditch drilling claws, ditch the tanks completely. We're going to try this out.
All right.
Really uncomfortable with it. Maybe we change some stuff up, but I think this is actually the better way to play right now. So we're going to ditch.
That definitely sounds a lot better.
Yeah, I think that's going to be way better. No tech lab on factory. So we're just going to go reactor factory. Widow mine production, and what we're going to say is 6 to 12 mines, you know, based on the situation. So if you see heavy charge lot, and you should always maybe send an SCV around the edge of the map, or just have some Marines trying to poke. Sometimes I drop a scan on their third, because their army's normally chilling here, at like 6-7 minutes, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's got a lot of charge lots. So I go, oh, he's got a lot of Stalkers and Colossi. I don't really need Widow Mines against that. They're terrible against Colossi, right? In that case, the factory just chills, doesn't really build anything against Stalker Colossi. Zealot Heavy Army, I'm like, ooh, non-stop Widow Mine production. I'll queue up an extra round of Widow Mines to make sure, because they build so fast now. And I'll be like, yeah, let's just non-stop build Widow Mines for a minute or two, right? So that's kind of your thought process with a reactive factory. By default, you just kind of mix a few Widow Mines in. If you identify it's one way or the other, you can stop Widow Mine production or really focus on it a little bit more. What we're then going to do is basically swap that reacted factory once the third base gas is down. We lift it off. It can build another reactor for itself if you want to add Widow Mines later. I honestly don't use my factory at that point after it swaps off. I often build a reactor for it, but I just don't use it because it's very complicated using Widow Mines and Libs at the same time. And you're a ghost guy. The ghosts already are hard to use with BioLib. Second starport builds on factory's reactor. We pump out Libs, and then after that point, what do? We get our 6th and 7th barracks. This is like what you've got to focus on, right? You got to focus on these things. Sorry for the lack of eye candy, guys, on the stream. 6th and 7th barracks is the next in the order. Then it's 4th CC and Ghost Academy. Now, maybe you really like your Ghost Academy. You're like, I'm going to get my Ghost Academy before the 4th Command Center, around the time those extra barracks go down. Your call. If you want to adjust this, just make sure you do it the same way every game. Maybe you do it just after the 2nd starport goes down. But the important thing... Cool. I think is we want to kind of make plays in this period with those liberators, right? We want to start doing that big 1-2 pushing down both sides of the map that I always talk about. I emailed you about the idea of, you know, you got a distraction squad, which is so good when you've got a Raven. If you keep that Raven alive all game and you're just like roaming around the map from the mid game, killing observers and limiting their vision, oh, it's such a nightmare for a non-Stargate Protoss to deal with because they don't have Revelation. And then you're just like, oh, okay, I'm going to send 3 medevacs down the south of this map. I am going to boost into the main, drop there. Oh, you recalled, pick up, leave, main army runs in, sieges uplibs on the 3rd. High Templar suck balls at engaging into liberation zones. Protoss is like, fuck, like, what do? I'm just dead, right? You know, you use your positioning and your mobility because we have these awkward siege units, which if we try to move out and he's in the middle of the map waiting for us, we're going to lose a lot of units just trying to like, oh shit, oh, I'm getting stormed, oh, I'm getting caught, oh, he picked off 2 libs, oh, I'm trying to siege. You split your army up, you create threat, you take advantage of the fact that Protoss is very immobile, and they only seem imber when they know exactly what's going on, which brings us to our next point in this game. Mapu, by the way, thank you so much, Kevin, for the 5-month resub. Appreciate that. The next point is what we're talking about here, this engagement. Go to his camera view, and let's watch this.
All right.
He's like, oh, I see this entire army. Okay, cool. Not sure what he's like warping in some units or something. Oh, he's like, I'm supply blocked. Shit. He's like, well, that army's still just sitting there. I should probably go kill that. Yeah, maybe. He really should have moved his High Templar forward and stormed you. So Jolts, you ever have a vision of someone? You should always take advantage of that to move your spellcasters forward and land spells. But he's like, yeah, I can take that army. I've got Storm. All right, cool. Clean it up, you know, any move. If his army wasn't half the size of yours, this would be the dickening. This would be like, oh shit. Fucking Storm, man. Protoss is broken as fuck. Now let's go back a little bit. Let's rewatch that. You did win the fight, but it's not nearly as clean as it could have been. Let's watch from your point of view. You've got no idea you're being watched. You have no idea whether or not he has Storm yet. You're swapping add-ons around. At that whole point, he could have come forward and stormed you just then. Because you were just in this ball and you weren't watching your army, right? We're just chilling. Okay, cool. Let's siege up some tanks. Maybe we should fight here. So, couple of key things. Scan ahead of the push. Every single game. Always. If you're on that side of the map, man, you got to see what you're going into. Is number 1. Number 2 is always hit 2 places at once. This is the golden rule from the mid-game onwards. Even if it's a single 8 Marine drop in the main, or even an 8 Marine drop coming in. You see where I signal if you go to everyone's camera? Actually, the run by into the natural is like one of the best moves you can do in TvP. People have like 5 stalkers in their main or some shit down here. You like stim 8 Marines into the natural while pushing the front. And you like lose your army, but you win the game because you kill 20 probes. Yeah. But instead you kind of move forward and then you're like, oh shit, let's try and split. You stim part of your army and you were microing it, but you didn't stim the top half of your army and you were kind of moving your army back and forth when you should have been frantically spreading. Part of the reason you weren't able to do this is you're not innovation and you didn't scan ahead, so you didn't know what you're going into and you didn't know about Storm till the last second, right? So you're trying to kind of figure out what you should be problem solving while encountering the situation rather than looking at it, having a few seconds to kind of process and think, okay, I've got to pre-spread my army really, really well to negate these storms.
Alright.
Cool. So this is really good because what have we done? We have refined your build. The single Raven was already good. I'm really happy you were already doing single Raven, not double. But what else is big here? We're taking the siege tanks out because I think they offer very little to you. We're getting Widow Mines by default, which will keep you safer against charge lot timings. Did I write down the bunker? I don't think I wrote down the bunker. Let's write this down. You always need to bunker as soon as your pressure is dying down. In this case, it was about a minute earlier than we would have liked it to die down, because obviously you got shot down on the way into his base. But if we have that as a golden rule, it's like, man, that bunker is so important to keep us safe at home. That's going to be big. We're going to go into Widow Mine production by default, which is going to be amazing, because it gives us that safety against the charge lots, but it also gives us a reactor waiting to quickly go into double lid production, quad lid production, once our third base gas is down. Your Raven is not going to auto turret harass. Your Raven is just going to clear up observers. As if there's no blink pressure, or if you just like, I've got stim, I've got shields, I got a few medevacs, you should immediately be moving out through the middle of the map and then just like rotate it to a tower in the north, rotate to the tower to the south, leave some marine spotters around. And you're just getting rid of observers, right? You're just like roaming, making sure his vision is gone.
Good.
Awesome. There's like 1,000 things we talked about. I looked at that game and I was like, this is pretty good. We don't have to change that much, but now we've talked about it. It sounds like a lot. Gonna take a few games to get used to. Guys, did anyone actually end up putting their hand up? I don't know. Hey dudes, any Protoss around? 4,300 MMR. We can always play another game against Jolts and it's still gonna be very valid, right? Getting some practice with the new timings and stuff. Alincius is Platinum 3, so nope, a little bit low. Sorry, a bit low. Thanks for offering, though. I'm looking through who's in the channel. I think Zephyr's... Yeah, Zephyr's Protoss, right? Thought so. My man. Oh, okay, it's only about 3,900 MMR, so not that much closer. But it'd be good. We can play against a variety of styles. Doesn't look like anyone else hopped in from stream, so that's cool. Let's just hop into a game here against Zephyr, see if we can put some of this stuff into action, get a little bit more comfortable with the order, and take it from there. All right. Eric Master says, give me 2 minutes, I'm 4,200. All right, we'll wait for you, Eric Master. NA, my friend. NA. We are hosting on the US West server, but Eric Master's in Europe, so I could actually rehost that on US East. Alright. Actually, guys, thanks, but we'll use another guy. Found a 4,200. I'm gonna rehost, so hop out of that game. I am gonna kick these guys from the party. Thank you so much for helping, Jolts and Zephyr. I appreciate it. I'm kicking you, though, because I'm an evil piece of shit. Actually, I need to leave the party anyway for my setting to actually kick in. Okay, we've got Catalyst. I've made a US East. That should work now. I'm going to host that up. I'm going to get you into the party.
Alright.
So your build should naturally be better because you're going to do the normal single Raven. So it should normally come together better. The main change is really just that factory with the reactor and remembering to get your gases down right after your engineering bays. So those are the only 2 changes.
Yeah. I've always been way too indecisive with that, so that definitely helps.
Yeah, it's always nice, especially with Terran, to simplify our focus, I find. I'm just like, no, let's just embrace the flexibility of the buyer, rely on them to get the job done, and should be all good. So You coming, Eric Master, baby girl? Hop on here. He's got to boot up his wooden computer. He's playing on an Atari or something. I don't know. Might have been watching on mobile. Something else just to boot the computer up. What style? Doesn't matter what style, Eric Master. Any style you struggle against, dude?
Yeah, it'd be Storm.
Storm? Okay.
I think you saw that a little bit.
I think
yeah, definitely identify it with like I definitely don't scan ahead enough. I definitely like I'm like I see them do it, but I've never really.
stimming a marine is just as valid as well. Like some people just prefer to like always like they stim a marine ahead even before they move out, and then they like stim just a few individual marines off. Some people like that. It's just personal preference. I like scanning, especially against like, you know, Zerg. There's always like, well, I'm gonna need to use this to clear creep, and you never know when there's like, you know, where the hell the army's gonna come from. So it's very important. But with charge lot armies and Storm, it's kind of the same thing where it's like you get flanked by that, and it can just be an absolute disaster. So awesome, man. All right, here we go. Storm style preferably, but whatever you want, my friend. Good luck, have fun, dudes. We're not gonna force him to play a certain style. Let's do it. Let's go. All right, man. Get in your groove. 2 big changes. We're going to be building Widow Mines out of a reacted factory, and we're going to drop gases right after the engineering bays. Other than that, it's you doing yo thing. Good luck, have fun, kick some ass. That was a little bit spammy. I'm like high on energy here. I'm like, I'm rocking back and forth. I don't know why, guys. I think I had some peanut butter toast for lunch, and now I'm like, and it's like, pig, calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down. I don't know what's happening, guys. I feel like I think I forgot to take my meds. I don't know. I wasn't aware I had meds, but now I guess I am. I don't know. I'm like fucking rocking back and forwards in my seat. I'm like spamming out words like crazy. Guys, if you've got any questions which I've missed because I've been so focused on writing notes and just kind of talking to you triple this time, shout out your questions now. The 2 minutes or 3 minutes of the early game, best time to ask questions in chat when I'm coaching. So if you posted a question before and I missed it, feel free to repost it now in chat. What up, Wobulating? How you doing, dude? Okay, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna scroll up and see if I can find anything, but my chat does cut off at a certain bit. Do you think of the double Ravens and 18 worker kills, he could have even won that fight? Just curious, because Toss was starved. Oh yeah, I mean he won the game right there. Oh, you mean the Protoss could have won that fight? No. Yeah, I mean like he could have. So what you need to do there, he needed to focus on minerals, Gosu Noob. Like he was just doing his normal thing. So what Jolts should have done after losing all those workers is saying, ooh, simplified game focus. I've already mined enough gas and I've got Storm on the way. Let's imagine he's at, I can't remember his exact position. If I were him, I would say, okay, crisis management. We've already got a lot of gas and we've got Storm on the way. Let's make 4 High Templar for Storm. We're going to pull off gas. We're just going to keep mining 2 or maybe 3 gas geysers. We're going to try and rebuild probes for a little bit and just make a ton of gateways right now and warp in a ton of pylons and non-stop zealots and just use a big zealot Storm army. If we can win 1 fight in the mid game, then we can probe up and add gases and add Archons and Immortals and upgrades and the rest of the tech. But basically you say, I took a ton of damage. If I follow my normal game plan and go for all the things I normally do, like, well, that's not going to help me against the next push, is it? So what you do is you say to yourself, what can I cut out that will allow me to crush his push still? And that's how I'll get ahead. I'll get ahead by crushing his army. I'll commit harder than normal to stopping that first push. And off the back of that efficient trade, I'll say, cool, I'm ahead now. Wait, actually I'm not, because I took all that damage. I don't have this tech. I'm even now, at least. Let's add the tech. Let's get to my normal position. But only after I've found some way of equalizing, right? Only after I've found some way to tie things up. Yeah, there's a 2-head command demand if you get sick of answering that one. It's literally !2 head. One word. Because that one gets asked every time I'm coaching. People are like, why has he got 2 headsets? What is he doing? What did I have for breakfast? I had my normal breakfast, special K and oats. Low-fat milk. I did have low-fat milk. I don't really care which type of milk I have, but I just happen to have low-fat. Just my cinnamon oats that I love so much. It's a solid breakfast. Solid breakfast. Okay, so he scouted the Stargate, right? Or he thinks it's a Stargate? That's interesting. Not sure. Difference between 5k Terrans and GM, says LEQ, and what is needed extra? It's different for every player, LEQ, but refinement. And understanding the game state better and actually reacting to situations. Sometimes even a lot of low GM players, I feel like, just play the same way every game. And they get ahead and they keep playing the same. And I'm like, well, you're ahead. Why aren't you pushing your lead further? And because they're just not thinking about where the game state is enough. And this is something which is a pervasive problem at all skill levels, where people do not think enough about, am I ahead, am I behind, and how can I adapt to the situation? People don't make awesome comebacks because they're like, I'm behind, shit. And there's zero thought process about what can I cut out of my build, what can I focus on or gamble to try and get back in a good position, you know? What do I sacrifice? What do I gamble on to get back in the game? Too many people aren't doing this, right? And it's the same at Master, it's the same at GM, sometimes right through to high GM. I do it sometimes as well, where I'm just not thinking about it, right? But this is where, you know, you think of your classic Artosis or Day 9 stuff. If you guys didn't start playing until the later years, it sucks, because even the awesome like Day 9's not around, and Artosis doesn't talk about this stuff nearly as much anymore. Neither do I, because we feel like we just commentate for so many years. We stopped mentioning the basics as much as we should. You'll still hear Artosis mention these fundamentals, like he's ahead in economy but behind in army. He just needs to defend and go really defensive right now so his economy can pay off. And then the guy moves out, and you'll hear Artosis just roast him and go, when will pro players stop moving out when they're in this position where all they need to do is defend, and they'll lose the game because they go out and they attack into their opponent, where if they understand the game state and they think about it, everything points to there is only one correct strategic decision, and that is to sit home and defend. So I honestly think understanding the game state is really cool. If you're already around 5k MMR, what's one of the best things you guys can do to try and work on that understanding? Remember how I used to play the game where I said, how many workers do you think he had? Or how many workers do you think I killed over the course of the game? I think workers, how many workers are we both at, is one of the best games. So you'll notice me at the end of the game, I go, that was a 55 drone roach timing when I'm playing PvZ. I'll rewind the replay. There it is, 55 drones. I know exactly what I've died to most of the time. Not always, sometimes I don't. But I always do that exercise where I look at the graph at the end of the game and I look at how many workers I had so I can understand how much my opponent committed to what they're doing to me. And that's important because that allows me to draw the correct conclusions from the situations and make sound strategic choices. So anyway, guys, no bunker. Absolute fucking madness to not have a bunker. I am going to write that down again. We're going to write, okay, game 2, what are we doing better? What are we doing, you know, worse? So he's got way too many reactors right now. So... Wait, what the fuck? He built a reactor on this barracks? That doesn't make sense. I wasn't paying attention to exactly what he did there. Now, he's obviously thrown off because the early game's been a bit messy, but... That's absolutely the wrong decision. So let's write some notes on this one now. Ah, what the fuck?
Armed and ready.
Warriors press.
SCV ready. Go, go, go.
Way too many reactors. Second barracks should build a tech lab. Third barracks swaps onto tech lab. That way you get stim and shields around the same time. Fourth and fifth racks should be one tech lab, one reactor. Total 3 tech labs, 2 reactors. I think he might have done this last game and I just wasn't paying attention.
Your upgrade's done.
I told him this before a year ago when we were coaching, but he's forgotten it. Yeah, about 1 year ago. I specifically remember telling him this in our coaching. Yeah. U-Tripple's amazing at certain things in the game, by the way, guys. He's really, really good at certain things.
You want a piece of me, boy?
He's one of the players I really enjoyed watching improve over the time we coached. And he obviously took quite a break from playing, hasn't been playing as much, but yeah, he's looking pretty good. So his gases, I think, were a little bit late there as well. He still hasn't started shields.
SCV ready.
You're doing really good. Just don't forget combat shields, and you need to move out with your Raven and Bio and start clearing out observers for a while. Get that map control. Good stuff.
SCV ready.
So he should also be going gas, and then second starport on the reactor. Notice he's built 6 Widow Mines. So while you're moving out, remember you want to start getting the gases on your third, and then you want to build a second starport on your reactor factory. And your reactor factory can swap off. So keep building, you know, some more SCVs and kind of get that transition going where your reactor factory swaps off. You build the second starport on the reactor, and you can have some swap into Liberator production after 4 to 5
That
medevacs
mineral
usually.
field's gone. Don't spend it all in one place. Our forces are under attack.
So the main risk here, of course, is him jumping on your army, but that's fine. You can always either just stem off individual Marines,
running out of minerals back
and most
home.
importantly, you're just kind of looking around, clearing up observers. You're not really looking to push until we get about 4 or 5 Liberators. You're doing really good. Keep it up. And 2 more barracks with tech labs will have to come down in the near future as well. 6th and 7th barracks.
We could use some help here.
So what he's doing here is he's staring at his army a lot. He's not comfortable with this. He should just be going A move, shift A move, shift A move. Clearing up observers on the edge, but he's not doing it. He's kind of just camping. This isn't really establishing map control. Like, it's nice. It creates a little bit of threat. And thankfully, it feels like the observers have pulled home. Where is the... Oh, he's only got 1 in his army. But yeah. Definitely could be, with very little APM, creating more map presence. Need to just queue up your army to A move around the middle and edges of the map to clear up the observers. Then as libs start joining, split off your distraction squad.
Minerals back home.
Let's just say 2 medevacs.
Mineral field depleted.
Threaten the far flank from your main army.
We're running out of minerals.
So you can tell he's used to pushing about now. I was about to unmute and say, scan! I was gonna be like, don't you fucking dare walk up there without scanning, you psychopath. But what's he doing right now? He's got a Mass Marine Widow Mine army up against Colossus. And he's like staring at it right now, way too much. Is he building libs? He's building 3-3 in libs. So here's a little thing. Okay, 3-3 is not important. 3-3 should be delayed. Only get it if you have extra money. Now the reason for that, guys, is you should be establishing an advantage and aggressively trading at 2-2. 3-3 doesn't mean shit if you let Protoss get to late game, fortify bases, etc., etc. No Liberators? There's 6 Liberators at home. What was the army doing out there? So he's not clear with his game plan. What was he doing out there? What's his push timing? That's what we need to really reinforce after this game is, what was the plan here, dude? Why were we down there?
SCV ready.
We also just shouldn't be on such a high Marine count. We already talked about that as well. Got his medevacs out, thankfully.
SCV ready.
So yeah, basically, it's more important focus on lib production.
It's go time.
Okay, so you're now behind in this game, and this is the point where you want to shift modes. So you want to be queuing up Liberators down the edges of the map, you want to be doom dropping and just dropping all over the place, and just trying to stick to that regular rhythm of, you know, drop the main while pushing the far bottom left-hand side, spread your opponent out, keep just queuing up Liberators into random bases, and you basically just want to try your best to pick him apart. And we're just going to keep focusing on bio lib for now, because if we can position that correctly, that's going to be really, really key. And that's going to make a huge difference. So good luck, have fun, and let's just focus on that. So this is a nice little drop. He found a hole.
Upgrade
So notice he's still leaving an army at home. Pointless. Army should be on the other side of the map. This is creating a huge opening where this base could have gone down, but he's only queuing up 2 drops. Get out, get out, get out. Run, 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 run. Boost, 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 boost. Oh, he used his boost in the base. Oh, crazy. Thankfully, the Phoenix didn't hunt him down. But yeah, army shouldn't be sitting at home. Unfortunately, the Phoenix make things a little bit harder, but poo-poo happens, as they say.
Ghost reporting. Go, go, go!
You're doing good, but your main army really needs to be pushing as well. So you should gather everything. You got a ton of libs now, and you really want to push down maybe that left-hand side, while your drop just distracts him in the main.
Ghost reporting.
And it's all just about finding a position on one of his bases where you can siege up all your libs. And you know, you're not playing a defensive game. It's all about getting in his face.
Somebody, get me out of this mess.
So you don't look to engage the army.
Hands to battle stations.
Like right now, he's running home. Nope, 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 nope. That's not what you do. Because a good Protoss player can just go around constantly. The moment you're in the defensive with Liberators, you've lost the game. Like if the Protoss is adept, he's just like rotate, pick off a lib or 2, rotate the other side, pick off a lib or 2, and you're stuck in a defensive time walk. Spio's just chilling here. So what should he be doing, guys? Queuing up a lib to siege here. Queuing up a lib to come in and siege here. Queuing up a lib to come in and just siege on this base from right through the middle. Queuing up a lib to come in here and do that. Another 4 libs are out. Cool, we've still got 10 libs with our army, or 8 libs with our army. He's busy doing that. Main army pushes down and sieges up. You have to go get that siege up. So remember, you can't be afraid and sit back. You're behind. You've got to be the one pushing out there and sieging up on his bases.
This better be good.
Splitting off individual liberators is a great way to do it, or drops to distract. The most important thing is your main army can never stop pushing once you hit the mid-game of TvP. The moment he gets you on the defensive, you're in massive trouble. Luckily for us, he's pulled back and he's giving us an opportunity to get on the offense again. But we normally can't count on our Protoss player backing off and giving us the space.
Hope you have an expansion.
This is like, yeah, Eric Master's just kind of like pulled his whole army back for a single drop and stuff. And right now, U-Triple's scanning, thank God. Yeah, alright. He has no idea where the army is, so this is always a very frightening position. But he should be stimming in here and just trying to kill everything. These libs aren't sieged properly. Oh, actually, most of the army went into the lib zones. I thought more of it would be on the bottom. My God. The Liberators were a little bit clumped, but that's what we're talking about. Protoss engages into siege libs. We call that the dickening. See, Eric Master didn't pay for his insurance against the wall of dicks. I believe it when you recall into 8 Liberators, that's actually what we call the wall of fucking wreck. The dickening, the destruction. The Protoss being like, lol, 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 teleport. Oh wait, that's a whole ton of siege units sieged up on me base. So yeah, he should win from here. He doesn't have a 5th yet. Like, I'd be building bases on location and stuff. You can tell U-Triple hasn't really embraced the, like, I'm gonna overwhelm your mindset, which he should be.
Hope you have an expansion.
He's like used to like taking these really safe expansions next to his existing one. It's like, you should be so in the Protoss' face, they can't do shit to you.
Reporting for
Go, go, go!
There we go. Other units coming across. And this ghost is like, get wrecked, Tempest. These ghosts don't give a shit, apparently. There we go. Finally, we can kill that. Oh, he's unsieged all of his libs. Mistake. It's all good. He got this.
We're running out of minerals.
Campaign's
back
loads of
home.
fun. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it teaches you how to attack, move, how to make hotkeys and stuff, for sure. I don't know what exactly you guys are talking about, but yeah. Yeah, campaign's a great way to get into RTS. And that's how I think all of us started RTS games. You hop on and you play the story, you play the single player.
This better be good.
That field's been mined out. Hope you have an expansion.
Gangway. We could use some help here.
GG. So, how about that recall into those liberation zones, eh?
that was really good for me.
I thought his army was going to appear on the south side of the Nexus, mostly. And I was like, oh, these lib zones set up quite right. And like 80% of his army went on the north of the Nexus. And I was like, these lib zones are perfect. I was like, oh. Dude, GG. Okay, so yeah, this is the thing with libs, is it's just so hard for Protoss to deal with them when they're sieged up, but it's so important to stay on the Protoss' side of the map and create threat. I do the same thing when I'm playing Lurkers. I see Lurkers and Liberators as the exact same function for dismantling a Protoss. If you're sieged up and they have to attack into them, it destroys pretty much their entire army, right? There's no counter to the Liberator or the Lurker until very late in the game, okay? But the hard bit is getting them to do that. So this is why in Zerg vs Protoss, I have a squad of Roach Hydra out on the map, running around, like threatening, trying to keep them at home. Because if they push to my side of the map, fuck, my Liberators all have to be on the defense. My Lurkers all have to be on the defense. So it's the same thing. I apply basically the exact same theory in both matchups. It's this idea of that. So there's a few things we want to talk about. Let's watch that replay really quickly to finish up today's session. We had a couple of really long games and a lot of long analyses, but we've found everything. We found everything we need to talk about here. So Eric Master, thank you so much. Watch on stream, dude. Yeah, where are you? Where'd you go? There you are. Invite to party. Watch with others. Okay, let's go through it point by point. Key things to talk about. You went too many reactors. You had 4 reactors, 1 tech lab on your barracks setup. I don't know if you did that in game number 1 or not, but it was definitely too many in game number 2.
I thought he was going Phoenix Adapt, to be honest.
So it was an adjustment to that. Okay. In that scenario,
you're supposed to do more Marines, right, or not?
Yeah, like I often open up double reactor 1 tech lab in that situation, but then I'd still go two tech labs, or maybe even 3 tech labs, because they're usually going to transition onwards from there, right? So always go, like it's like a 1 tech lab becomes a reactor adjustment at most, right? No more than that. Because you ended up so heavy on Marines, yeah, that was kind of frustrating. Then he went into Colossi, so our Widow Mines kind of weren't that useful. But you only went about 6 Widow Mines, so it's not the end of the world. It's fine to have a few Widow Mines that aren't the most useful unit. That's okay. The big problem was you kind of when you we'll get to it. Let's just go through point by point through my notes. Okay. So normally your second barracks would build a tech lab, but you built a reactor as an adjustment, so that's okay. And then your third barracks would normally swap onto the Starport's tech lab, I believe, because we go medevac, and then we build a Raven. Yeah, so that factory normally should probably lift off and build a tech lab, right?
Yeah.
Because then we can have, bam, the starport and the factory both lift off, and we like either land barracks on them, or we build, we basically like land the 2 barracks on those tech labs that are waiting for them, and that'd be like a nice little way of doing that. Obviously, this early game got a little bit messy. Things got a little bit wild. I'm trying to remember exactly how many units were killed on both sides. Bloody assimilator protected a bunch of his probes, but you still got quite a few. The battery as well did a very nice job there. Unfortunately here, you didn't queue up and drop. I don't know if you misclicked that. Did you try to queue that to drop?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Okay, because you should have just told it to drop in the natural, and if you did that, 2, probably 2, maybe 3 probe kills, and it would have just created more of a problem. Otherwise, the medevac obviously should have been shift-clicked further away.
Okay.
We're going to adjust that. Sorry, not adjust. We're going to forgive that because you had an Oracle in your base. You're like putting SCVs back on mining. There's more important things for you to be focusing on. We're totally fine with how that went. Funny thing, by the way, if you use interference matrix on the Oracle, that just turns off its laser beam, I believe. So,
oh, wow.
I'm
all right.
I'm just thinking about it because I've never used it before, but I'm like, that's kind of funny. So like, if it's low on energy, it helps. Like, otherwise it just sits there for 6 seconds and then turns its laser beam back on, right? It's not like not the end of the world. I was just thinking about that. I'm like, I wonder if there's a situation where it's worth doing that. Probably is a niche one, or niche, as you Americans say. Not sure which ones of us are crazy. So, okay, yeah. So the marine count sucked. But other than that, I really liked it. One problem, the gases on the natural were a little bit late. We could have gone those a little bit earlier. And especially if we had a second tech lab upgrading and more marauders building earlier, I think that gas might have been impactful. As it was, it was fine. It didn't matter too much because we were going marine heavy. But just a small adjustment. What's the bigger thing? Bigger thing was basically, yeah. Here, stim and shields are done. Oh, actually, you almost forgot shields for a long time. But did I whisper that in your ear?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, good.
I'd forgotten.
So at this point, I think you were very nervous moving out of the map. So I think if we think about your vision, what's missing? You're learning a kind of new order, right? So you're not really focusing on it, but there are just basic things you need to know if he's taken a third or not, okay? Obviously, even with a Stargate opening where it's pretty rare, he could have gone Twilight and made a ton of Adepts or Charge Lots and just killed us, okay? So we also forgot the bunker after the early pressure as well. Likewise, that could have been a problem. Sometimes people open blink, even a delayed blink or just a random Stalker pressure could have been a nightmare. But if you just spotted the third, just with an SCV or a Marine on the edge, that would have been like, okay, we know he's got a third at least. Like, you know, we've got some idea of what's going on. But from here, I felt like you weren't comfortable moving your army on the map. Watch this. I'm going to put it on 2x speed on your camera and watch how much you spend staring at your army.
We could use some help here.
It's not too bad, but you'll notice your army is also not doing anything. We're staring, and we're staring, and we're staring, and we're staring, and we're staring. This can all be queued up.
This better be good.
So these moments, whenever you're looking at your army, this can all be queued up. And the thing is, you cleared out effectively only one tiny little portion of the map. I would have go to everyone's cam. A move, Q A move, Q A move, something like that. Like clear out like the whole middle of the map, you know, basically. And the thing is, it's queued up. And the reason you should feel comfortable with this is because you've got Medivacs and Terran is the scary player at this stage of the game. Unless the Protoss is cutting probes like crazy, most of the time they're going, I'm going to probe my third and I'm going to camp and I'm going to try and get high tech. We look at him in this case, exactly what we're seeing. He's like, I'm trying to get up my Adepts. I've just got Glaives, I've got Stalkers, I'm trying to add Colossi, Storm, Blink, I'm getting double upgrades. Like, he just wants to sit back at this stage. It's a little bit later where things get a little bit scarier for your army, right? So I would have loved you to kind of queue up, deal with that, and then because you'd be spending less APM looking at your army, you'd be like, okay, Liberated production starts up even slightly faster. We're building SCVs on our third a little bit more consistently. We see that wasn't fully saturated. Dropping a few more mules on that third. Getting these extra barracks down faster. The fourth command center could be started by now. And what's really important is you start getting those libs up and you produce pretty well, but then your army kind of stays over here. And I thought you were going to headbutt up there because you're used to pushing around this time, right? Or sometimes, or often earlier. But we're not really trying to force the issue. All your plan outside of build order, and I'm going to write it down here, is what's your game plan? Your game plan is phase 1, early pressure. Be greedy and defend. Establish third base. Then push out and clear up the map of observers. Then you split off your distraction squad even before you're ready to push. 2 to 3 Medivacs. And then you push down the opposite side of the map from where your distraction squad is. Grab your 5+ Liberators, we'll say, is usually the kind of magic point where suddenly you've got a crazy amount of firepower from your libs. And push down the opposite side of the map from your distraction squad. So if we imagine in this game, right here, you could have 2 Medivacs that have cleared up these pylons on the right-hand side and are just kind of roaming around. Maybe they're attacking these gateways and core from the low ground. And at the same time, you're gathering up everything and pushing down the left. And while you did get a few Liberators down here, you're not creating problems for him, and we're just short of hitting kind of the critical mass of Liberators. And because we're so Marine heavy, and our units weren't quite pre-split the way they wanted to be, our army kind of engaged a little bit sloppily. We only effectively had 2 libs attacking. Marines, of course, terrible against Adept Colossi and Storm. Marauders would be a lot better. Units could be a little bit pre-spread. But the thing is, we weren't doing anything with that push. It achieved nothing. If he just backed off and didn't fight that, we're not getting anything out of it. But if we're pushing down the right-hand side, that siege up could have been on this base in the bottom left. And even if you got cleaned up like this, if you killed the base and the probes on it, and you did a bit of damage in his main and maybe took a good trade over there, it's all worth it. It's all okay. And if it happens to be that you got all your Liberators sieged up and you had 6 Liberators and you just kill all the anti-air in that fight, because he did not have a lot of Stalkers, you just win the game right there. So I think really just believing in the strength of, like, these Liberators want to be coming in as the punch. You got to jab with your distraction squad, pull him out of position, cause a distraction, and that allows your cross to come through and actually siege up on the base. So jab and cross, and it should be good. At this point, because you were behind, you did start dropping, which is great, I mentioned that. But you started dropping down both sides and leaving an army at home. So what you got to give up whenever you're behind is any illusion that you can defend your base. No, if he comes across the map, you're just fucking dead. Embrace that. When you're behind against a Protoss, you can make incredible comebacks happen. If you're just like, if you grabbed your whole army now, even though it's like pretty shambly, it's like a bunch of Marines and Marauders in a medevac, push down the left-hand side. Because you pull him out of position with this drop. Check this out. Look at this, looking at everyone's camera. His whole army is gonna have to move over there. Same time, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liberators are sieged, Bio's stimming in, taking out the 2 cannons. He's gonna lose a base, he's gonna take damage. Other things that can create problems. As the game gets later or messier, or if you're on the back foot especially, I kept mentioning splitting off libs. So one thing I love to do is just select one of my Liberators, steal it onto a dumping control group. So I'm not actually going to select it on that group. I'm just basically say steal it off my army, queue it around the edge. Or for instance, his 3rd base is a prime angle where you don't even need to queue a Liberator to go anywhere. You just say Liberator, go siege on his 3rd. And you just siege on top of the Nexus from above it. And in the midst of you pushing elsewhere and creating problems, sometimes this will just kill a ton of stuff. And what this allows you to do as well is rather than having to spend a lot of APM building command centers at home and lifting them over, you can take a 5th on location. You can take a 6th on location. You can like actually just expand across the map and have these overwhelming numbers. And you're grinding your opponent down through, you know, through your aggression and your positioning, which is something you're talented at. So if you can get a little bit more confident with the fact that I'm creating a problem, the distraction squad is exactly that. Why are we calling it a distraction squad? We're not calling it a doom drop. We're not calling it a double drop. We're not calling it that I'm going to fuck you up with 16 Marines. We're calling it the, hey, look over here, distraction squad. It's a bunch of dudes. We've painted their armor red. They're really loud and obnoxious. They have speakers on their back blasting. You're a bunch of douchebag Protoss. It's just to pull him out of position. And the moment you pull him out of position, Liberators siege up and you're going to have a party on his face. So good control with all this. This point here where you pulled back, I was actually saying, nah, we should be going for the base trade. We shouldn't be fighting this. Let me illustrate what he should have done. He could have won the game then. He could have kept pushing through, first of all.
Yeah, just push past. That's what I was actually afraid of. I was like, yeah, so like, I don't, yeah, I was confused why he pulled back there.
Because he's been traumatized by Liberators and, you know, he doesn't have a lot of time to think because you're dropping him at the same time. You're creating problems. It's hard for him to make a good decision because he's got a micro at home. He's like, shit, this is going to take a lot of micro. What else can he do? Let's assume your Lib zones were already sieged. He's got to back off. Rotate. He should be going here and he picks off 1 or 2 of these Liberators, which he can actually pick off from this little bit of low ground. You siege up there, he rotates over to the 3rd. You siege up on your 3rd, he goes kills your 4th for free. Rotates back. Like, there's just no way for you to keep up with that army.
Right, I've been in that situation so many times where Protoss will do that. Like, oh man, that's brutal.
You just feel helpless, don't you? Because you're like, oh, siege there. Please fight into it. Please fight into it. And then you fucking fight into my Liberators. And this is why now, like, I've been traumatized. We all have so many times. We're just like, no. I'm like, I'm behind, and I'm like, liberate it, double drop, main army. You know, and this Protoss is like, I'm in a good spot. And suddenly they got Liberators on 3 separate mineral lines and a double drop in their main sniping their Templar archives. And they're like, whoa, and they're reeling and they're trying to deal with it. And then my shambly shitty army runs up and snipes a base on the front as well. And they're like, what the fuck am I losing this game? And it's because I gave up any illusion that I could actually fight front on. And just generally, you don't want to fight Protoss front on, ever, as any race, even as Protoss, really. You'd much rather Warp Prism drop in their main in PvP. But yeah, you basically, when you're behind, it's like, no. Like, if you want to push across the map, my army's always going to be at least halfway across the map, ready to push the other side and base trade you, because I'm not fighting into Storm and Colossi. Your army's relatively immobile. It's not good at killing buildings. I'm going to take the messy game with my floating buildings any day of the week. So yeah, that's how it goes, my man. We are done. I got to hop out. We've gone a bit overtime here, but it was good. So there is some adjustments in your build, but there's also adjustments in your flow. Step 1, clear up observers once you hit that mid game. Step 2, split off a distraction squad. Step 3, push down the opposite side that your distraction squad goes in. So your distraction squad, sometimes it just sits out on the map. It doesn't even commit at all. It's just kind of like there, and if they start pushing you, it runs in to pull them home, right? Otherwise, it's like, oh, my main army is ready to push. It's halfway across the map. Double drop runs into the natural. Kills 10 probes, picks up, flies away. Main army sieged up. 2 thumbs up, we're in a good spot. So it's all about controlling the map in the middle phase to set up for the Liberator siege up, finishing blow sort of push, which is going to get the damage done. One other little point, I wrote a lot of notes. 3-3 is not important because you want to be fucking them up on 2-2. This is something you'll see at pro play all of the time. I'm going to invite him to the party in case you guys want to play some more games. Basically, you just don't get 3-3 unless you've got heaps of money, because it's more important to just keep building libs and units and just get the momentum going, because you're like, yes, I've got 3-3, and if you haven't wrecked the Protoss' economy or killed some tech or disjointed their army in some way, like maybe killed all the Colossi or something, the upgrades just won't matter on Marine Marauder. Like, it's helpful once the game gets scrappy and down and dirty, but it's so much more important to make the game scrappy first, because we all know what it's like facing Storm Colossi. There's DT harassment coming in. He's got observers everywhere. He's got a 4th and a 5th base. Like, at that stage, 3-3 is meaningless. So 3-3 is kind of like lower priority. You had a lot of money that game, so it wasn't a big deal, but it's just something to think about, is like how focused we are on this phase of the game. This is something I learned from casting and watching TY, where he would delay his 3-3 sometimes by like 10 minutes. He'd just stay on 2-2 and just keep trying to make it happen. He's got this like crazy late game army, and then he's like, I should probably add 3-3 on now. Like, I've taken 5 bases and I've got 85 SCVs. I'm not finishing it anytime soon. My big timings didn't really win the game, so let's actually add that in. So yeah, super cool, man. I think you've still got some nice skills there. Good handling of some messy situations. Just focus on learning the new build guidelines and getting that flow down for finishing the game off and keeping the Protoss on his side of the map.
All right, perfect, thanks.
Awesome, man. All right, hit me up if you want to set up another, and I'll catch you next time, friend.
See you later.
Have a good one, man. Good night. My man.